Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity and for this AMN for this symposium. And we are so happy to share our experience with you guys, this new experience, a community-oriented approach in which bringing Hujra to Canada. So a community-based transformative learning approach around gender justice among Pashtun community in Calgary. So we'll be talking about that. It was about more than a year we were doing some Hujra Nights for transformative learning and social change in the community. My name is Aamir Jamal, and I'm an educator in the Faculty of Social Work. And we have Liza Lorenzetti, who is professor in Faculty of Social Work, and Tayyab Ali Shah, who I would say community elder, Pashtun community elder in Calgary. So we'll begin. Lisa will begin with the land acknowledgement, and then we'll back jump in. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. If you've stayed on today, you've heard from me before, so it's nice to be back. And once again, really wanting to situate ourselves with gratitude and accountability in the land that we're presenting here on, which is traditional Blackfoot territory, which includes Agana, the Siksika, Pegan, and Piikani First Nations, the Tsuut'ina Nation, Bearspaw, Chiniki, Stoney Nakoda Nation, and also Mohkinstsis, and the area, the Blackfoot territory, is also home to Métis Nation Region 3. So thank you so much. And we just want to express our gratitude for being on this land today and for building our communities and tending to our families on this land. Very briefly, we did present on Alberta Men's Network earlier today, but we're just putting up for those of you who are just coming on, our presentation and our work falls within the umbrella of Alberta Men's Network. We'll just give you a minute to read that, and we are excited to be part of this network, which is really hinging on anti-colonial, anti-racist, and feminist lens. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And now we have Calgary Pashtun Association Vice President Tayyab Ali Shah, and he was active part of this initiative. So I would invite him to share something about introduce Pashtun Association as well as the Hujra concept.
Thank you, Aamir and Liza. Calgary Pashtun Association. Pashtun or Pashtun, both these words are interchangeable. Even back in the homeland, depending on which accent is used. So I would also use them interchangeably. But the official name of this organization here is Calgary Pashtun Association, because the people who are member of this group use the particular accent which pronounce the nation or the tribe as Pashtun, not Pashtun. It is a non-political, non-religious, and not-for-profit organization which was established just 2.5 years back in 2018 with the purpose of bringing all the diverse and divided Pashtuns together so that they can have a feel of community and to help them rejuvenate their culture, keep up with their language, and to provide some or facilitate some social services to them. So promotion of Pashto language, culture, and heritage was one of the objective of this organization, and that culture and heritage included Hujra as well. Okay, so first, who are Pashtuns? Pashtun is one of the, if not the largest, one of the largest tribal society of the world, a society or a community which is still keeping some tribal norms, which believe that tribal norms are still very important in their lives, though with modernization and education. Many tribal ethos and norms are disappearing, but they are still being held. And they have a long history trying to maintain their freedom and independence, whether it was Alexander the Great, who attacked that area some 2,300 years back. They fought with him, or whether it was the early Muslim conquerors, or when the British came there some 250 years back, or when the Soviets came there some 30, 40 years back, and when the Americans came. They have been fighting with them. Sometimes they may not succeed, but they have always been trying to keep their independence. And as a result of that, their homeland has faced a lot of destruction, and because they did not reconcile with the attackers, with the invaders. And the result is a long cycle of wars and conflicts and chronic underdevelopment. This map shows where Pashtuns live. The green color indicates the area, the areas which is the Pashtun homeland. The line running right in the center of the map, that is the Durand line, the official boundary between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and Pashtun live on both sides of the border. It is a kind of unnatural border which was imposed by the British. And Sam families live on both sides of the border, like cousins. One cousin would live on one side of the border, another would live on the other side of the border. This map does not show Karachi, which is the southernmost part of the southernmost city and the biggest city of Pakistan, but it is the biggest Pashtun city in the world because some 2.5 million Pashtuns live in that city. The total population of Pashtuns is around 50 million. Around 30 million of them live in Pakistan. A bit less than 20 million live in Afghanistan. Around 3 million live in India. And the remaining throughout the rest of the world, including Calgary. So as this shows, there are around 25,000 Pashtuns living in Canada, out of which 3,000 are living in Calgary. The biggest Pashtun center in Canada is Toronto. And then we have a very large Pashtun population in Montreal, followed by Vancouver, and Calgary is the fourth biggest Pashtun city. We have around 100 to 120 families in Edmonton also. And all of them come from different professional backgrounds. There are skilled workers, there are refugees, asylum seekers, all kinds of trades and backgrounds amongst Pashtuns. The first Pashtun immigrant officially recorded who came to Canada was in 1939, and he landed in Vancouver Island and lived and passed away there. Now his sons are still alive, and there is nothing on record when the first Pashtun came to Calgary, but we can estimate some 35, 40 years back. And here also, they are trying to keep with their culture. Now, this picture shows some well-known Pashtuns. I put in this picture so that the community can be linked to people and you know some well-known Pashtuns other than Aamir and myself. So if you can see the current president of Afghanistan, as well as the current prime minister of Pakistan, both are Pashtuns. And then in the center, Malala Yousafzai, she is currently the most famous Pashtun. Then Dr. Qadir Khan, the father of Pakistan nuclear bomb, he's a Pashtun. And on the left, to the left down there, these are the Bollywood or the Indian film industry's Khans. If some of you are fan of Indian movies, you must know about Shah Rukh Khan and Aamir Khan, Salman Khan. Yusuf Khan, Dilip Kumar, etc. They're all Pashtuns. Then if some of you happen to be fans of squash, the sports, uh, two of the squash champions, uh, uh, Jahangir Khan and Janshir Khan, they also happened to be Pashtuns. Jahangir he was the president of the World Squash Federation and remained world champion for 6 consecutive years, and champion of the British Open for 10 consecutive years. And then nearer home in Canada, the only senator of Pakistani heritage, Salma Ataullah Jan, is a Pashtun. And still nearer home, Irfan Sabir, the current MLA and former Minister for Social Welfare of Alberta, also happens to have a Pashtun heritage. We talked a bit about Hujra. It is part of the culture of Pashtuns. It is a deep-rooted and established cultural institution where basically men come together almost every day in the evening for all kinds of discussions, all kinds of entertainment and socialization, where the Hujra sittings not only provide a forum for discussions about social problems, politics, etc., but it also provides a locale for hospitality of guests. It also provides a place where people get educated about health issues, about irrigation, where disputes are resolved, and even vaccination takes place. Like a health worker would go there, and announcement would be made, and people would come to that hujra to get vaccinated. So it's a multi-purpose institution, and it has been part of the Pashtun culture and heritage since centuries. But due to urbanization and modernization, this institution is losing its luster and is gradually disappearing. Uh, and here in Canada also, when people came, there was no Hujra, and like because of the lack of community, pressure of jobs, etc., there was no concept of Hujra, and therefore we tried to reintroduce it so that people could have a communal setting where they can come together, they can have their catharsis, where they can discuss social problems, where they can discuss all their issues and try to come up with some solution through mutual cooperation, coordination, and brainstorming. So this was one of the initiative that was taken in cooperation with Alberta Men's Network.
Okay, thank you, Tayyab Bhai. And yes, so as he beautifully described a little intro about Pashtun people, and then focusing on this one institution, one critically important and strong and well-established institution within the Pashtun community, which has thousands of years old history. It's a very well-established institution within the community. So it's a community asset. It's a community institution. Every Pashtun knows about Hujra. When you say Hujra, every Pashtun would know what it means, what's involved, what we talk, what we discuss, what are the manners, what are the protocols, right? All those things, even if they are not in black and white, it's still there. It's in the blood of Pashtuns. So we thought, after having some discussion, that why not Calgary Pashtun Association bring Hujra to Canada, right? So we had a discussion with AMN and Calgary Pashtun Association, and we said, why not to use this particular institution for a positive social change within the community? So this is what we did, and we arranged a very typical kind of Hujra environment, and where we had now we have 4 sessions almost. We had a COVID session, the 4th one. So a good number of Pashtun men basically participated in these Hujra sessions, and then we collected feedback from them. So the first Hujra session, this was one Hujra, and Hujra night in Calgary, in which what we did is, in the first session, that we included a typical traditional outlook of the Hujra, which of course, which include music, which include traditional food. Some people are sharing stories, right? Tayyab is sitting right there close to me. You can see him. And he was, in this Hujra session, he was sharing some very good stories and some reflections about it. But these Hujra, as usual, it was not just for having chat and discussion and having fun. Yes, it was part of it, but it was, we had a goal, we had an aim to achieve in these Hujra sessions. And those aims were, for this one was, as in this poster you can see, that we said, okay, let's talk about this one key simple question: what it means to be a Pashtun man, right? So in this session we had, I'm going, okay, good, okay. So in this session, what we had is basically, after having our own traditional stuff, we start to have this question. So yeah, in this session, and then initially we had Hujra Night first, in which basically it was all about, we were just setting the stage for it. And the focus was basically around gender justice and men's well-being. So in this session, we spoke about what does it mean to be a Pashtun man? A very simple question, and we start reflecting on it. After having a little music and food, we sit together for some time and we discuss about Pashtun masculinities. And everyone was invited to share their story about how they define a Pashtun man. It was a bit emotional kind of session. I remember Tayyab was also there, because we never thought about this question before, that hardly anybody thought about it, that what does it mean to be a Pashtun man? And in this session, people start sharing their perception and their stories about Pashtun men. And then we relate it in this conversation around gender justice issues. Then we related about well-being of Pashtun men. So that was kind of a conversation in which we began our discussion. Within this conversation, in the end of this conversation, and then collecting feedback about that, we realized one important piece. And all of them there was a consensus that, yeah, it was a good session to express our feelings, right? And to define ourselves, and to define and come out our perceptions, right? Bring out our perceptions. But the next suggestion was that we need someone to help us out around mental well-being. So for that session, then we invited a guest speaker who is a known Dr. Naveed Sayyed, who is a brain scientist. And we invited him to talk about brain and how brain works, and then about healthy families and well-being. So we connected all these various topics. It was a wonderful session, a lot of discussion around mental health and masculinities, perception about masculinities. So the approach and method that we used is about the AMN provision of support service using anti-racist and anti-colonial approach, in which we spoke about self-development, role modeling, education, and promotion. Lisa, you want to touch upon this approach a bit?
Yeah, so I think absolutely, these are some of the foundational elements of AMN's work. And really, when we discussed the men's survey that was conducted in 2016, where we had over 2,000 men respond, this is really what men were asking for. They were asking for the role models, the self-development, the educational opportunities, and the opportunities to promote healthy, positive masculinities, like some of the work that we've been doing around fatherhood. And so from a primary prevention perspective, as we discussed in all our other presentations, we're not looking strictly at violence. We're looking at promoting healthy, positive family and community relationships so that violence doesn't happen. And those are some of the methods that we're using.
So this was basically like a men approach we build on this approach by using community-oriented, community-established institution and community values, right? And those cultural sensitivities. We use that and we kind of blend on that. And this was our goal, what Liza suggested. So some themes emerge, and I will be quickly in terms of time, I will be just share about main focus in those themes. Like in these conversations, in these 3 discussions, 3 Hujra nights, men's well-being were explored. How different context and different perceptions of men's well-being, cultural perception of men's well-being, and how these perceptions change when they come to a different country, right, to Canada. Gender justice, same thing. What is the cultural perception of men about women roles, and what are different religions, because Pashtuns are predominantly Muslim communities. So what are their different culturally oriented interpretations of religious texts? So we spoke about those, and how those changing roles when they are moving to a different culture. And again, most importantly, mental health issue was highlighted a lot, and especially the stigma associated with mental health issues, particularly for men, and how those stigma are basically stopping them to receive any help from professionals. Parenting was another piece, the role modeling about parenting and the role of fathers and mothers. So those perceptions, because those perceptions are also defining different parenting styles for boys and girls at home. And the last one is that transformation and learning, that how we discuss about and we explore that how these kind of institution and this kind of group conversation could be used for reflection and social change. Finally, some insights from the community. They were very happy about it because it was something they owned it. It was something that can relate to. It was something that opened up. They give a safe space that is related to their culture back home, and they are discussing their current issue in that safe space in Canada. So it focused on real problems of Pashtun, and there was some suggestions that we would need more help in having some people who are in practice, social work practice, counseling areas, and all that, to come and discuss issues in this kind of setting. Conclusion is that obvious that this is a challenge, right? So how we have a mainstream social work always predominantly established and with institutions and systems which may not appreciate in many ways those cultural sensitivities, right? So this is a big challenge, and a good response that is coming out to this challenge is that we need to develop more models, culturally oriented models like this. And we are now, Liza, I and Tayyab, and we have 2 other people, we are working right now on basically writing about it and developing this model, a culturally oriented model for social work practice. And it was a great experience, Hujra Night, in which we collectively, there was a co-construction about this model, about this issue, and respond to this issue around gender justice and domestic violence. So this was we really all together enjoyed this wonderful journey, and we would be writing about it and looking forward to it. Thank you. Questions?
Could you guys maybe quickly post in the chat the contact information for the Calgary Pashtun Society for any participants and anyone in attendance who might want to get a hold of you guys and learn more?
Sure.
That might be beneficial.